So plants have emotions.
Yes. So basically, this was when I was in Argentina, and my aunt's dad, who's like the sweetest man alive, he told me about this man named Stefano Mancuso, who has all these TED Talks and research and a book about plant consciousness. And so I watched one of the TED Talks, and I was like mind blown, because the thing is, like, we know this kind of generally, and especially, people who've done like plant medicine or whatever, like, we're aware that plants kind of have this like mystical aspect to them where they seem to like really unlock some pretty profound experiences or transformations for people. So basically I watched this video on consciousness of plants, and it just gave me like a lot of inspiration around kind of like curiosity of like, why are plants so interesting? Like, what makes them so advanced? And one of the things he talks about is like, for example, trees, right? They've been around for so long and they're so evolved, and that we have basically, as humans, we have a lot to learn from plants, because they are able to perceive their reality, but they don't have the same senses that we do. So the first huge click I had was kind of like this idea that a lot of the times in the material 3D world, we're like, oh, it's not real unless you can like, feel it or touch it or see it, or we can quantify it. And with plants, they don't have like sight in the way that we do, right? They don't have ears the way that we do, but they're fully connected to their environment, and they're so intelligent that they communicate with each other, right? Like, trees have a certain way of communicating. There's obviously like the mycelium, like mushroom network thing that's like a whole fascinating aspect of how technically mushrooms aren't plants. Are they?
No.
Okay, right.
They're their own, like,
they're mycelium? Fungi.
Let's see. Fungi, yeah. Obviously.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm like, what's a fucking mushroom?
I'm like, are mushrooms plant?
Anyway, my point is, like, there are other beings on this planet that clearly are in communication with their environment, but they don't have the same senses that we do. So number one, I was just like, that is like such fantastic proof almost of not limiting ourselves to what our five senses can tell us about the world, and to understand that like there is just a profound expansion that happens when you let go of only seeing truth as what you can sense with your five senses. And this idea of learning about plants was to say that, holy shit, plants are interacting with each other, they're communicating, this guy has all these videos of these like studies, I guess, that he does, where he'll put like a beanstalk plant, and put like two of them on either side of like a pole, and the bean like vine has to like find the pole by itself, basically starts to grow towards the pole to then wrap itself around it. And if there's another one, they're like aware that the plants are aware of each other, and they're like in competition to spiral themselves around the pole. And I was just watching these videos, so mind blown, because I was like, okay, I know this is a thing. I've seen, like time lapses of plants growing and that they go so fast, but he was just explaining all of these like almost like what you would equate to like a psychological behavior happening within the plant that just blew my mind. And so I just like took these little notes that I wanted to read here because it was just really interesting. So this is about plant consciousness. This is what I wrote. We have so much to learn from plants. They perceive their surroundings without eyes and ears, yet are effortlessly in harmony with their environment. Maybe plants are our first clue toward understanding that our sense organs limit the way that we see the world around us. I wonder if plant consumption allows us to access higher states of consciousness because of their different sense abilities. Do they get passed on to us temporarily? So this was just like a question and thought experiment that I was having was, I mean, we know with certain plant medicines that people literally access higher states of consciousness, but then I thought to myself, I wonder if when you eat, raw plants and like have a lot of whole foods in the form of plants, diets, vegetables, fruits, that I don't know, maybe I sound really dumb asking this, but I'm just like curious about if plants have all these magical capabilities. You know, they're not necessarily magical, they're biological, but they seem pretty magical compared to like the way that we experience the world. That I just thought, maybe there's a lot of merit to the idea of consuming plants and like really getting something from the plant that could be really good for our consciousness. And I don't know anything other than that question, but it just really got me thinking.
I mean, it makes sense when you really think about it. It's like consuming the living things that have their own consciousness as opposed to the dead things.
Yeah.
But then would you consider meat being like the same type of deal where you're consuming something that has consciousness, or because it's dead, it doesn't actually have consciousness anymore?
I don't know. I really don't know. I suppose it's different because it's literally not living, right? But I don't know, because when you pull like arugula, I guess it's still alive even though it's not connected to like its root, but because you haven't like cooked it yet. And that's why people argue for like raw veganism, and a lot of the diet I did was like living food, so it was all raw. So I really don't know, and I'm like very curious about it. But well, the other thing is like a lot of like Native American cultures, they eat meat and they eat like the whole cow or whatever it is because they honor like the entire being, and so they're very connected also to like the soul of the animal, and they express like gratitude and like say thank you to that being and acknowledge that it had to die to give them sustenance. And so there's kind of that aspect too where you can still be like intentional and honoring of the living being, and that it is now it's like part of the circle of life, that it had to die in order for you to get sustenance. I mean, we still have to effectively kill the plant to eat it.
Yeah, but it's not dead until it's like rotten. Like it's still alive as you're eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even then like the fungi comes in and decomposes it, and then it goes back to the earth. So
Yeah. I don't know, wild. We have to bring an expert on.
yeah,
this.
we need to get Stefano Mancuso on because I have a lot of questions. So listen, if I eat a plant, are you telling me that I will be able to have the force? Because this is what I'm interested in.
Tell us the secrets.